You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in Northport, Florida. I've got a very special guest in the house today, Mr. Jerome Fletcher, City Manager of Northport, Florida. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Mr. Rollins. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. So let's start this out real quick with maybe a city update on some actions that you've got lined up.
Yeah. So first of all, just recently, earlier today, the decision came out from the most recent Court of Appeals, giving us, the city of Northport, a major win, so to speak. The case was denied for review for the West Villagers residents who wanted to de-annex. So this means that the case has gone in our favor. They have 15 days in order to reply for that. And I'm under the impression that it is a very rare chance that they will get another chance to bring this particular item forward anymore. So we are very excited and happy. I know that this has been going on long before I got here, and we knew that we would get it over the finish line. And once we do, in the next phase of this, we can sort of move on. Like, if you might remember, our Community of Unity tagline was born out of trying to make sure that the people who wanted to de-annex realize that we're all one community, regardless of how the court case ends up. So we're going to stick to that and make sure that we give them the best things that they need to make their quality of life the best it can be.
Well, and there's a couple things there that you said that people need to also hear, that there's city balance, that the focus is not just Welland Park.
Correct.
And we have a lot going out throughout our city. And I've heard you mention that several times, and other commissioners too. While it feels like that's where the attention is, that's a major growth part of what's happening within the city too.
Absolutely. Our deputy city manager, Jason Yarborough, has said and keeps saying that the majority of the permits that are being pulled for building and new activity is in Legacy Northport, not in Welland Park. So the city itself has many different growth areas, and we're doing a financial conditional analysis as well as an economic development update report that's going to have the value of all this growth, the value of everything that people are seeing, and how it affects them financially. Because when we were talking about the police station, the question comes, where are all the impact fees? Where are all the dollars that are coming in here from the growth that I see everywhere? So we're going to give the people a better understanding of that and give them some updates, but provide them with the confidence that the city's going in the right direction.
And I know you're not prepared for this question, and maybe you have this in your head though, or someone else has asked it, but I'm curious to what the de-annexation has actually cost the city.
Oh, I already asked that question. It's not totaled yet. It'll take some time to total it up. If you total in the external attorney time plus the internal staff time, it's going to be a big number. But whatever that number is, we need to be able to say it and tell them, this is what you have cost the city, your same taxpayer dollars, for this effort, which I wasn't here. I can't say if it was worthwhile from the beginning or not, but it is what it is.
And game, it's still going to cost the city a huge amount of money that really could have been allocated somewhere else.
Yes, it'll be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So is there a time frame where we'll see that number come out?
No, I don't. I think the second case that is still pending, if it ends in the next, let's just say, month or so, that would be June, July, probably early fall.
Awesome. So I had several conversations on Northport city concerns, and a couple of questions that came out of that. And one was generated towards your salary. And I know that was like big news all over social media. And I'm not a big fan of talking about it because you didn't set that. But I also want to talk about the process of getting hired. So there was a process first, and then the hiring, and those two things have to jive together too. But can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So when I was hired, first of all, when I was selected, the first thing you do is you see what the market compares to around you. And when you looked at Sarasota, who has Marlin, you look at the county, who has Mr. Lewis, you look at Venice, Mr. LaBelle, you're talking about some very experienced people. So me coming into a first-time administrator role, the goal is not to say, well, I want to make as much money as they have. You don't have the experience that they have, but you need to be in a range with them. But most likely you're going to stay behind them because they're good at what they do. So when I came in at $10,000 less. I believe it was $10,000 less than I wanted to, or 5,000. It might be 5,000 less than I wanted to. But I had a chance to, prove myself in the first 6 months and get a 6-month evaluation because I wanted a little bit more, but they wanted less. So it was fine. I've been one. I've never argued over money. I'm never going to argue over money. I don't believe that's the right thing that you do when you're trying to get a job. But when I got the job and got hired, I proved, through the evaluations of my majority of my commission that showed I had done a good job. So when you ask what was my salary, so the last salary comparison that we did it last year when I was at $205,000 before I got my last raise. The city of Venice, they were at $226,000. City of Sarasota was at $217,000, Longboat Key $211,000, Fort Myers $246,000, Hicoro $259,000, Bradenton $203,000, our county $257,000, and Charlotte County $189,000. So you look at all those things and just make sure that you are paid something that is representative of your worth and what this job entails. And for the people who don't understand why a city manager salary is so high, most likely they don't understand all the responsibilities of a city manager. And that's okay. They don't need to. They're not supposed to. We don't think that they have to. But at the same time, you need to respect what the profession and the experience and the education details for the salary.
So you're not out of range from the area. You're still well within that. There are, and I've said this numerous times, but we count on our officials, even the city commissioners, who really don't make nearly enough money for the amount of time and energy that they put into it. And the quality, I'm not going to pick on quality as in the person, but there are so many more people that may run if it was the pay grade was higher. So the opportunity for others to engage in the city would be different. The pool would be different.
So the Charter Review Board, John, has looked at the commissioner salaries, and I think the last time when they spoke to us a few months ago, their determination was that they couldn't, one, put a job description on the commissioners and determine that it was more of a full-time job versus a part-time job, which is what it sort of was referenced at when I believe the city first started and how it came out so low. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the county commissioners make, let's say they make $90,000, $90-something thousand. Our city commissioners make $30-something thousand. That is too big of a gap for what our commissioners have to do on a regular basis in order to satisfy the needs of the role. I don't think you need to go to the top, and you definitely shouldn't be at the bottom. And just like they would say with my salary, you should be somewhere in the middle. Well, in my case, I'm more towards the bottom just because of lack of experience and the other experience they have. But you get my point. You don't ever want to have your people at the bottom. And I feel like our commissioners are at the bottom. And I do think that we need to raise it up. And I've had this conversation with Joe Justice from the Charter Advisory Board. Anything that I can do to try to help that, but it's not getting that traction that I wanted to get yet.
And we go through these conversations at times. I've been here since 2000, and I've watched the small increments of increases with the commissioners along the way. And I always chuckle because, the sign coming down 75 is you can make $95,000 a year flipping hamburgers as a manager at McDonald's, but our city commissioners are half that or less than half that. And there's a chunk of responsibility that has to come with being a commissioner, let alone a city manager. But everybody has to kind of to work this out. I'm not a fan of raising taxes. I got accused of that. I'm not a opponent of that. But we also must talk about that because we haven't raised our taxes, our millage rates here in the city. I think we're going on the third year in a row now, correct? fourth year in a row. And see, I guess I'm for raising my taxes because I would rather have incremental increases than one large increase when we go, oh no.
That's right.
So it's a double-edged sword for me where I like the plateau that we're at, but I also recognize I don't know how long that can continue to maintain itself.
So the time period already ended. It cannot maintain itself anymore. So during my, Northport United speeches, I've talked about the trajectory of our millage rate versus the trajectory of our expenses, and they are not close together. They are both there. There's a gap there. So I believe we are at the point of needing a millage increase right now, especially looking at our budget that we're trying to balance as millions of dollars off. When we put the budget in front of the commissioners, they're going to see where some of these pain points are, and you're going to start to cut into quality of services. And if that happens, then that is not going to be good. But there will not be a millage rate increase this year based on what the commission has guided. This is a very, busy year with so many things going on. I don't believe that the millage rate increase will happen. We will try to maximize our revenues or making sure that everything that we can and should be charging for that is our responsibility, that we are. So that's a part of it as well. We have to make sure that we are turning over all the seat cushions, so to speak, to make sure that we're getting every dollar we can. We all know that, the economy and the world right now is not in a good place financially. I would venture to say there will never be a good time to do it. And no one wants to do it. It's not a fun process. It's not something that the commissioners or the city management gets up and say, you know what, let's raise taxes. That's a great thing to do. But it's necessary for the financial future of this city to be at the level that you want. If you want it at a lower level, then we can drop it down and drop some services, and then we can deal with that. But that's not something we would advise. That's not something our financial professional acumens would give as good advice.
So we've learned a lot through Ian, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, because before we see you again on the next episode, we're going to be in hurricane season. And last year, WKDW and the city have partnered up. We're internet based. We also have the antenna. But the beauty of that is we partnered up and we're part of the Hurricane Information Network. So you can turn to 97.5. And we've actually given you guys at City Hall the ability to click a button and be on the radio instantly, which is a beautiful thing. But we also have learned that, just because you're getting your voice out differently now through FM radio with that information access, we also have questions out there about what happened with Ian. And we've had buildings that need repair. We've got and here again, none of these things that I'm going to bring up now are prepped questions, but saw the resiliency people at the from the county at the hurricane event. We've got pools of money out there that we can go after differently. And I did talk to one of the constituents on Northport City Concerns, and she talked about the insurance. Can you kind of educate everybody on how the city operates under the insurance kind of umbrella? We all have insurance for our houses, but can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the city is what you would call self-insured, which means that we pay for a lower amount of external insurance, and we take more of the risk and the burden on ourselves. It helps keep the cost down, and one of the good reasons that keeps our millage rate down. But at the same time, when you have a event like Ian in a city like ours, which has several buildings, if you were in a larger city and you had multiple more buildings than we did to insure, you probably wouldn't do that as much because you'd be taking on too much risk. But here it has worked out in the city quite well. And even though when we had Hurricane Ian, there were some questions, like you said, around our insurance and then the repairs that we had to do and make. And, As of April 15th, 2024, the city's total Ian expenditures were $55 million and $40 million in revenues we had collected. So we're still not right-sized on how much we need to collect for Hurricane Ian. At the time of Ian, we had layered coverage for non-utility properties with 2 carriers, Axis and Everest, and a third policy with Ace American Insurance for utilities property coverage. So, and the $10 million in coverage we have in non-utility properties and $10 million in coverage for utilities properties were there when Ian hit. We have since changed insurance providers to a mix of about 10 different carriers. So it's a different model than what people are thinking of when they think of their own insurance. But at the end of the day, our goals are to keep our tax rates as low as possible and make sure that we're protected as much as possible. And now that we've gotten all of the assessments done, and now we have to make the capital repairs. If another hurricane happens next week and we haven't made the capital repairs from Ian, then it's less likely than FEMA will even reimburse you for the subsequent hurricane because you didn't fix the prior hurricane damage. So it's a vicious cycle, but
so I'm gonna come to Robin's question here in a second, but I want to do just a quick follow-up on that. When you say we have expanded that insurance portfolio out, are we better covered now with expanding that out?
I wouldn't say better covered. I would just say we're still as covered because what we want
is it just as difficult to get this city insurance as it is a lot of times for us as citizens?
Yeah.
So that difficulty is still there.
Oh yeah, insurance is challenging for everyone at this point in time. But based on our credit and our history and who we've worked with, we set ourselves up to make sure that we are protected as much as the city should be protected.
Awesome. And Robin, San Marin City, thanks for reposting this out in the community. I appreciate that big time. Are you still waiting for FEMA funds?
Yes. And state funds.
And I'm going to follow that with, are we doing anything with the resiliency side of the funding?
Yes, we've applied for every bucket of money that we could apply for through the resiliency side. We do believe that we have a strong case to get a good chunk of the infrastructure for public entities. One that was open several weeks ago, and we know that the county commissioners and county staff, they all know what we went through from Hurricane Ian, and we believe that we will be taken care of during that process.
And Sean Kirkpatrick has a question, and it is, I put his other one up there. So when will the insurance versus FEMA issue be resolved as it pertains to the Morgan Center and the gym repairs? Specific for him, and I know we've talked about this multiple times, is the gym floor.
Yes. So the gym floor, we were trying to put down the gym floor, and then the AC went out, and you can't put it in with a temporary AC unit. So we were trying to get it done, and it didn't work. So now we have to replace the roof in order to put the basketball floor in. The roof costs almost $2 million. And we have to pay for that $2 million before we can get reimbursed for that $2 million on that roof. So now that our inspections have been done and complete, it is the top project on our list to go and get paid for and get the gym floor fixed as soon as we can. We hope
I had
early fall.
Sorry about that. So I had a discussion with one of our commissioners, and she talked about the tree and the root system. And she, the cause and effect, there's always a root system that goes out.
Right.
That roof system, the roof system, not the root system, but the roof system going out has now led to different things there.
Yeah.
Here's the key though. If we spent the $2 million, how long do we wait for that return?
Oh, John, I think Julie Belia would tell you that we're still closing out Hurricane Irma and Charlie right now. You can't put a date on it. I can say that we've gotten money back from the state in their eyes faster than we ever have for Hurricane Ian, and that was a blessing. But those are things that are outside of your control. That's just the way government works. You're never going to rush the state. You're never going to rush the federal government. You do what you have to do, and then you just wait until it happens and be grateful when it does.
So being self-insured at this point, that's we got to find buckets of money to, or do we have these buckets of money set aside?
We have some money set aside. I'm not saying like our pockets are overflowing or anything, but we have enough money to prioritize what we need to get done so we can get it done so that we can get reimbursed for things as soon as possible. But the first step was the inspections and making sure that everything was documented as damaged. And now we need to go fix things and then get reimbursed for those fixings.
When did we find out the roof was bad?
Originally or just recently?
Just recent.
It was maybe, it wasn't the roof. It was maybe in February. I'll look it up while we talk.
Because I know we've been asking about this, and I know that there's actually a special AC unit that's in that building.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge cost there. So let me.
But we were actually
said so that all understand. Do we have to be self-insured?
I don't think it's mandatory. No.
But why are we? Is there a cost and effect of that?
Other than the ones I mentioned earlier, when I said that the cost of our taxes would be down and the fact that we would still be able to have the insurance that we wanted to provide, I don't think so. Those are your benefits. Cost.
So have we looked at going full coverage?
Not since I've been here.
And how do we do that?
You probably go out through an RFP and see what the industry and vendors would quote you for, to see how it would make a difference if it was in your favor or disadvantage in order to do that.
Is that something the commission does, or is that something that staff works on?
That would be something the staff will work on at the direction of the commission. Nice try.
No. Because that I'm trying to put the puzzle together, because how everything flows down. It's not always the staff that is saying, hey, I'm going to check this out and then bring it back to them. There is some direction there, correct?
Yes. We could do it if we thought it was in our best interest to do it and it would work in our favor. I don't think I've heard anyone say that it is or it will, but I can get you some more information on it.
That's awesome. No,
yeah.
I hear the beauty of discussion, I guess, and being open to it. That's the key. So we've got a lot of buildings still down. As far as what we're working with since Ian, correct?
Correct.
Is there any forecast on those?
Well, first of all, can I answer the first question before we jump to another question?
Yes, sir.
So the first one on the gym floor, we sent a memo out to the commission on February the 14th. And we were trying to expedite the replacement of the floor that had been damaged. The rooftop AC units were damaged in the storm. And the potential solution would involve securing a temporary air conditioning unit. We were going to have to assume some risk from that temporary unit because the contract actually says for the floor, it needs to have a permanent unit. But we were willing to risk that because the floor has been out for so long.
Right.
But then due to the fact that, you could have conditions of warping of the floor and whatnot, we still thought it was in our best interest. But now we believe that since that didn't work, we're going to try to get the replacement here in the summer.
And are we looking at doing the roof by summer?
The roof will take a little bit longer than the summer, but if we can get the floor and get it set, get it ready, the problem is there's a time on getting the floor as well, like getting the floor and getting it ready and then actually putting it in and then making sure the AC unit is the floor, the AC unit, and the roof. All three of those are locked together as far as getting the solution for the problem solved.
So that, and I'm going to say this because I know just a tad bit about the flooring style, but you have to really bring it into the environment that it's going to be in. You can't bring it into a hot environment, install it, and then get the AC unit repaired and let that happen, correct? Because then that's where the warping comes in.
I believe you're correct. When I say get it, I don't mean install it, but I get your point.
Yeah. So Pete Emmerich, years ago, we were fully insured by outside insurance. Costs became too high to keep having that. Then we went to the self-insurance. Remember all the assets we have, including approximately 800 employees.
Thank you, Pete Emmerich. Good to see him.
Yeah, good job.
Hope he's feeling good.
Yeah, well, Pete, a healthy and well recovery. He had a little bit of pneumonia, and we just need to get him out running around. We got to get that C collar off first.
Right, but he's got to take it easy first. Don't let him go too fast.
No. So is there by the way, if any listeners right now have any questions, as you can see, if you can put them through Facebook, that would be awesome. And I also go back and look, if you are watching this later, I will gather questions for either the next show or I will get them to him, and Mr. Fletcher will absolutely address them. But I appreciate everybody who's commenting at this point. So we've got some big things still happening with Price Boulevard. We've got Warm Mill Springs. I've had plenty of discussion about Warm Mill Springs beyond my belief. I'm at the point where I'm tired of Warm Mill Springs. I just want something to be done.
Hang in there with us. Hang in there with us. You got it. If I'm hanging in here, and I've been here only 2.5 years, the people who have been here for a lot longer, this is the most progress and conversation you've ever had about Warm Mill Springs. Hang in there while we get to the finish line.
So where are we at right now? Right now, if you had to sink your teeth into something, where are we at with Warm Mill Springs? Is there a good update?
So this is what I would say. I think there's 3 possible pathways. One, we've met with John Thaxton and Christine Johnson, and they are very convincing on a conservatory easement process, which would allow the rights of the springs to be sort of frozen in time while still financially compensating the city at a pretty high amount that would allow for more improvements to be done. All 3 buildings could be kept. You would make a passive use of the 60 acres and sort of just walk away from it like that. When I talked to John Thaxton, I thought it was a great idea. We heard him, and we're going to bring that back in front of the commission. You also think about it like this. We don't have borrowing authority right now. If we got our borrowing authority and kept our money in the bank, and then we leverage our money in the bank with the money that it makes every single year, then you'll have enough money to restore the buildings and still put the infrastructure in and still make the place a desirable attraction destination. You could use that. Or then the third option is they could choose neither one of the two and still want to sort of just take care of the first phase of Warm Mill Springs and then see if somebody wants to sell the 60 acres or close the 60 acres. We are working on bringing the Legacy Trailhead down to Warm Mill Springs. There needs to be a destination there for it as well, because we've been talking to Charles Hines and making sure that the Legacy Trail stays in front of us. So there are a lot of things there. What I don't see is the development of that land into the condos and other high rises that were talked about when we were exploring the P3 partnership. I don't see it there on the footprint of where the Springs is, but on Ortiz, where there is some land there, I think it's called 7A, which is adjacent to Warm Mill Springs. If the city had bonding authority and we put in the infrastructure there, wouldn't that be enticing for someone who wanted to come there and do business? And then you have your economic development right there. So you could, there's several different ways to do it, but I think they all look very positive for the Springs.
So I didn't hear the word sell. You didn't say sell the 60 acres, right?
I don't think the commission is interested in selling anything.
Okay. And so I just wanted to clarify that because that I didn't hear it, but
Right.
it can get away from us really quick when it's not clarified. But
If I'm
Robin,
not
thanks for putting that comment up.
if I'm not mistaken, the Forever Florida Fund, that pathway includes selling it through that process, and I think that's why we're going to still talk about it. I think someone talked to our team about it, so we're going to outline all this for the commission. Most likely, we're shooting for the May 28th meeting, so that we will have enough information to update them on what our team has done over the last 3 months since they gave us the charge, and then we'll be able to talk more about it in public. So May 28th is our target date.
So what actually, and I have to ask about Ortiz because functionally there's a lot over there that needs to, I think, be blended in together, like city wise. When we run water down Ortiz, do you envision, or does the commission envision annexing that part of Ortiz that's in Sarasota County into the city of Northport?
I would think so. I see people over there annexing now because they want to get onto our water and sewer because they're having issues with what they're dealing with now. So I think it's just going to improve. I don't see us proactively, forcing the issue because I'm not sure we're in the position to do that. But I do see it happening. I just don't know how and when it will happen. Yes, but yes, I do.
Yeah, and just I'm just kind of mapping out futuristic. I had this conversation with another constituent online, and she was concerned about the changing with mixed use, and I took a different approach and explained all of it as far as the advantages if your property did get switched. And there is, when you're on a busy road like Price Boulevard and you're switching these things out, you kind of have to look down the road. You can't look these changes that are happening, Ortiz and Warm Roll Springs and annexing in. These are not today, now, right here, not going to happen, but they're futuristic, right?
Well, it's just like the ULDC. You plan for the future. And it may take years or decades for whatever that fruition to come together, but you're making the best decisions now that's in the best interest for the future of everyone. It would be very short-sighted to just look and see what you needed to do for the next 1 to 5 years. We have to look big picture with these decisions.
And so we've talked about. Somebody said this today, the other day, because I believe you included your name in the conversation, but the sign on Price Boulevard, when you found out it was there for 6 years,
terrible.
That's just too long,
right?
And it is way too long.
It is.
Can you give us some insight on where we're at with Price Boulevard and when that's actually going to start? Because again, I'm just gonna throw my hands in the air. It's Warm Roll Springs, Price Boulevard. I group them together because we've been waiting.
Yes, you have. So our public works team had to get the designs redone for Price Boulevard after Hurricane Ian. Those designs, I believe, coming in early summer, and I believe that construction is scheduled to begin early fall or late summer.
Okay. So we've got some action coming.
You got it coming.
So the beautiful thing
now.
Well, the beautiful thing is if you're on those corridors and you go to mixed use, couple things I'm going to point out to you. The activity centers all over the city are still not 100% up and running.
Right.
There are some changes that come with that, but mixed use is also not really going to change Price Boulevard right away unless everybody sells.
Correct.
It just gives you a different opportunity to keep your value higher because you have those options as it does transition. And that really was the full intent of the mixed use, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, you need to maximize your commercial opportunities where you can. And the ULDC rewrite is going to help that, again, like you said, by putting the mixed use and different designations where they need to be. But from Price Boulevard standpoint, I don't think any of us can predict the timetable of when all those homes will be gone, but it just happens. But it happens. We're not going to go in there and tell everyone, well, oh, you got to get out of here. We're going to take your property. That's not what the city does. And the only way a developer could come in is if they pay you to get out of there and do what they want to do. So it's a lot of let me go to the most extreme circumstance of what might happen to me and let me fear that, as opposed to understanding what has happened, the time that it takes to happen, and the reasons that it happened that could calm those same fears.
Right. And really the way that mixed use is set up is actually really there's a bonus for any homeowner now during the transition.
Yes.
To keep, because you if you buy, listen, I'm a realtor. If you're going to buy on a 4-lane road and you're going to butt up against that road, your property value is going to decrease compared to everyone inside. But if you have the ability to change that over, the property value can sustain itself.
Yeah, and that's a small, I guess, good piece of news and something they would see as a bad situation. But I get it. I get it.
The situation has been designed for a long time, so it's adapting to what actually was designed to happen.
Yes, now that is 100% true, and that's exactly how we see it and we know it to be. But again, we're talking about people and their homes and their livelihoods, and that would give any of us some concern if we were in that same situation.
So I'm going to put Elaine Emmerich is wanting to know how many years will Price Boulevard be under construction.
Elaine Emmerich, the Emmerichs are hot today. Hello, Elaine.
Yes, they are.
Yes, I would say I think it's going to be 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
The 2.5 years, that's a long time. So
it is.
And there's a lot of traffic control, different things that has to happen along with that.
Well, and I think our public works director, Chuck Speaks, said that he learned a lot, and he's going to change some things. You remember when Price was shut down due to Hurricane Ian, and that helped him react in a way that's going to help Price Boulevard be handled once the construction happens. So you're going to have, Price under construction. There's going to be things happening at Warm Mill Springs. You got the hospital over at HCA. The hospital is going to be building at Sumter. There's going to be still building over at Welland Park. There's Toledo Blade. Things are happening there. You're going to see so much new building and growth for this city that people are going to realize the growth that we've been talking about is actually going to start coming to see them, and then they'll be more aware of the efforts of the team in the city.
So we were on the topic of conservation. Can you discuss the aspects of the as it pertains to our city and other areas that are sensitive?
I don't think I was on conservation topic, but since you want to go on conservation topic,
well, I think the conservation topic went into the Warm Mill Spring side of things.
I think I use the one word conservation easement, but okay. Your question is, what about the other aspects that we think are sensitive to the city? So there has been no sort of what I would call narrowing the focus of those particular areas. What I believe is that for everything that the people see on their day-to-day lives of the building, of the growth, that we need to be able to then identify an area that says, this over here is where we're keeping it special, keeping the trees and the wildlife. But when people don't see it where they used to see it and where they think it should be, they don't think it's anywhere. And we have to do a better job of either identifying those places or publicizing those places so that people know that in a city of 104 square miles, it exists. It just may not be where you think it is, but we need to tell them if they don't know. So that's part of something we need to improve on.
And that's really part of the growth and understanding of the city that really has been there the whole time, but not identified as whether it's city owned we have conservation land throughout. We talked about that before. We've got over 15,000 acres within our city boundaries.
Right.
But you're not going after conservation land either. And you and the staff and the commissioners, aren't you working together not to hurt the environment?
Yes,
the best you can.
Yeah, we're trying to have balance. The growth has to have balance. You can't grow and not care about the environment or the wildlife. That just doesn't make any sense. But if I care about the wildlife and the environment, and you're tearing down everything around me, then you need to show me where the places are that I'm telling you I'm concerned about. And I think that's what's missing in the equation. Because I was thinking, you talk about parks and you talk about conservatories. What if there was like an index or a ratio of how far one or the other could be from every single development here in the city? We have them spread out. We have everything spread out. We should be able to point to them so people know where they are and not have to wonder why is the city taking them all away.
So you've got, let's see, I'm going to bring in the hospital that I'm going to bring in all four corners over there.
Okay.
Because not that we're building on all four corners yet. We're building on at least two of them right now because we've got residentials and we've got the hospital on the other corner with residentials.
Which one are you on, John?
I'm on Sumter.
Okay.
So Sumter Boulevard, we got that section right there, flooded the most. I hate to use the word the most, but it's flooded. It was bad. So can you talk about and I know we've done this with Elena, but can you talk about the hospital and how it's going to be built or not built, but what it's going to impact there at the corner and what they have to do to mitigate some of the flood issues and how commercial kind of works hand in glove with correcting some of these things?
Yeah, well, and I'm not an engineer, so I can't tell you every detail on how they're going to mitigate the flood issues. But, they're preparing to build that site for a, like a more than 100-year plus storm. Those are some of the requirements that have to be done to make sure the building is hardened and prepared and can withstand a storm. Now, Ian was a 500-year storm, so that would have hurt most places anywhere. But they are confident. SMH is confident. They've worked with our public works team. They're confident that they're going to have those things in place for that side of the street and the highway. Now, on the other side of there, you have a parcel, and then you have Lady Slipper behind that. And that is still looking to be developed as well. But they will be building and putting in those same flood mitigation efforts so that they will not be in a situation like we were before Hurricane Ian. The way that developers and the projects are built right now, they have the foresight of knowing exactly what regulations they need in order to make sure that everyone remains safe. They're not going to build a new hospital in an area that is going to fail. And they also have to make sure that the wildlife and trees that we talked about earlier on those same properties are still maintained at the same time.
So I don't know if you can read that out loud from Robin. Can you see it?
Why are we continuing to appropriate funds from our cheated lots to fund other city projects? This has been going on. I don't know what project she's talking about, or the cheated lots. But if you send us an email, we can answer her question.
Robin, I know you got that. So I was not sure where she was going with that, but if she can put another question up there or give me an inference on it, I'll go for it. So the multiple Chuck English said multiple environmental groups have put forth multiple areas for sensitive environment. I know that I want to have our environmental group back on because we now have that department. But are we looking at environmental lands to purchase still as within the city a lot?
I have not heard that we are looking at any lands to purchase for sensitive areas.
Are we moving any money to utilize to do other projects? I hate to ask that question because I know we are. Everybody does. So
what do you mean? What projects are you talking about when you say, are we moving money to do other projects?
I'm trying to figure out where Robin was going. It is within the budgets. So whatever she's asking about is within the budgets. Robin, on this, put an email to him and he'll get you the answer. Let's see. Might get some help on this here. We have not received money from lots.
That's you. I can tell you we had or hadn't. Right.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Commissioner Everett. No, I was reading the same things you were reading.
Yeah. So, we have not received that money, right?
You asking me?
Yeah, well, according to Pete, we haven't.
Right. According to him, you haven't. I said I didn't know. I would have to go back and find. That's a technical question.
So she said, I'm looking at some budget item lines. Price Boulevard was mentioned. I don't know if that works into that equation, but again, go ahead and put that email together. And this was just really a comment. Good idea to identify the places of conservation and parks, et cetera. Thank you for talking about the growth and the balance. And these are all, the involvement that we're getting today. Believe it or not, we've gone through about 40, well, gosh, 40 plus minutes now. We've got about 10 minutes left, but we've had a wide range of communication out to the city. I am going to mention this. We've got an event coming up with Northport Forward, and that's going to be held on June 27th at 6 p.m. at Lakeside Plantation. Can you talk about the importance of citizens attending an event that Northport Forward puts on, not just that they get to hear from you, but staff? Because I like how staff gets asked the questions through you, and you hand off and they run with it.
Well, yes. And before I do that, when the comment came up about, the parks and the growth and the balance, one, our parks has been selected as a finalist for the National Gold Medal Award in Parks and Recreation Management through the National Recreation and Park Association. So we're very proud of them, and it honors, agencies that demonstrate excellence through resource management, program management, and environmental stewardship, and more. So we're very proud that they are getting acknowledged, and I know for a fact they're redoing their parks master plan for the city. And then you have the Natural Resource Division who are coming in and doing their plan for the city. And when you merge those two things, I think that's going to be a lot of information, good information for the citizens, the Robins and the Chuck Englishes and the environmentalist people of the world to sort of collaborate with the city on and get their hands involved in those plans. This is a great forum, and it is wonderful. But when these people have these detailed questions, they need to get in better communication and contact with our subject matter experts so that they can get their questions. Now, back to your point about the Northport Forward.
Yep.
Some of those subject matter experts are right there to answer those questions. And that's what we love. We love being able to see them and giving the right person to get the right answer to them so that they can get the best information that they're looking for. But those sessions, the value of those sessions are someone else may be thinking of a question that you are thinking of and didn't ask, and you get the answer that you need. You may be getting misinformation from one of those websites, like you quoted earlier. They're not riddled with facts; they're riddled with opinions, and most of it's of an emotional opinion. But what we want to provide you with is things that we can defend. When you say, "Hey, are you getting any money from Sheeted Lots?" Our finance director will be right there, and she probably knows the answer to that question, for example.
Well, well, I'm glad we're bringing this in because we've held these all over the city, and I bring this up because a lot of people think that as the city leadership, we need to be out more in the spotlight. We've had multiple Northport Forward events. We've got social media. We don't have a TV station where you're on every night, so you can drive home and listen to Northport news through City Hall. But we are trying to push content out the best we can. This has been a tough show for you, for one, because the vast amount of deep questions, because again, that's that tree effect. It's the layering of every question. There's a cause and effect that goes into play, and you have to dissect it the right way. You just a statement is almost, and I hate to use the word, a trap. Well, he said this. Well, yeah, if this happens or this happens, but I love the fact that we maybe focus on a show later about this topic with one of the staff members who can dive into it and explain it out. That's what I like about the complexity of this.
Yes, and from my standpoint, we have the conversations, and I think it sounded like earlier you were going to say that someone was saying that we need to be out in the community more, like we need to be doing more, like have FaceTime. Because I would challenge them to say, when has this city ever been out as much as we are out now and putting ourselves out there?
Actually, I'm actually agreeing with you on that. That's what I'm pointing out. If there are naysayers out there that are saying that, you need to pay attention and get out to these events and see them in action, and bring your questions.
Right. That's what they're there for.
The biggest thing. Let's see, the majority of our demographics within the city are not able to attend these meetings in person, or the chamber or the commission meetings. But I have an answer.
Yes, you do. And you know the answer is. Go ahead and say it.
I know they're online, and I personally film the Northport Forward events, and I can guarantee you we're pushing that out, and we're getting great feedback from that.
Thank you, sir.
And I have to say that because one, Carmine and Northport Forward invited me, and the last time it was Madison at City Hall shot me the email and said, will you come out and do it again? So again, Robin is correct. A lot of these meetings are held during the day, but if you really want to dive into it, you have to, as a citizen, sometimes you have to take responsibility for learning about your city on your own in your time that you can.
And Northport Forward, our Northport Forward United tour, they're never during the day. I think they're all
night. And this one is at 6 p.m. Lakeside Plantation on the 27th in the clubhouse. So it's there ready to go, and that's in June, June 27th, 6 p.m. Lakeside Plantation at the clubhouse. And I can tell you, we've had about 150 in there with our organization before, so it can hold a lot.
And John, let's also not forget that we've been doing community input budget meetings that have been virtual and open for people to attend. We did one. I know the second one got canceled, but our last one is Tuesday, actually, May the 7th, and it will be in chambers and online. People can log on to view and don't have to be there and can still ask questions online. So we understand that you got to meet people where they are. People don't have the time to get up and come to a community meeting like they used to,
right?
Like they used to back in the day. So you got to make it available to them.
So Sean's got a great question. Not that all of them are great, because they are. What steps would you recommend for us to East Siders to take to get more city parks east of Toledo Blade?
I think Commissioner Langdon is already carrying that torch, but I would say, first of all, you would need to make sure that you have read the master plan and understand where all the parks are and what the plan is for the parks. As the current master plan is being revised, I would start to make sure I knew, okay, what have you guys been doing, or what did you say you were going to do? And then say, okay, well, why are there so many parks out west? And then how do we get some more out east? Because the east is growing, and that's where the people are coming at. And then let's make sure that we have a plan for the east and the residents. And it will show you a map and a trajectory of how many parks are coming and when and where they're going.
Robin, I've got about 2 minutes left, but I read at 6 p.m. is not an appropriate time. What time would be appropriate? Because that's too general for me. Is it 7 p.m.? Is it 8 p.m.? What are you recommending for working class? So one positive note here, John, your staff is wonderful. I met with 2 of the staff members this week about some detailed questions I had, and they listened to my input and suggestions as well. I think the Northport United events are good, and interviews like this one. How about that? Thank you,
was nice.
Ron. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Yeah.
So Robin said 8 p.m. So that's an 8 p.m. start time. Well, I'll throw that to Carmine and see what he could do. But do you have a response to that?
Yeah, we're probably not going to do 8 p.m. start time for a community meeting.
based on
The time of day, the 8 p.m. start
eight,
time.
yeah, 8
Yeah,
p.m. start time is tough to do because
right.
you've worked all day. Uh, you've already put your 8-hour day. You're pulling all the staff members in to start at 8 p.m. That means it's a 10 p.m. breakup time and an 8 p.m. start time the next day.
Right.
So good. I like that. Um, but that's possibly down the road conversation. But it's something to address later. Let's see. The Chuck was brought into the URDC. And are we putting the cart before the horse in not attempting to do that versus the ULDC?
No, I think the ULDC was the most important thing that we had on our plate to address. I haven't heard anyone say that the comprehensive plan needs an overhaul like the ULDC needed. The ULDC was a necessary, timely effort that needed to occur so that we could stop tripping over ourselves and having different directions that conflicted with each other. So I don't agree with that.
Okay. So I've got to tell you, we're at 4:01. This is John Rawlings with Real Talk Radio saying thank you for listening in. We'll talk to you soon. And to the social media listeners, thank you so much for being part of the show today and really asking great questions. Robin, if you can put an email over to Mr. Fletcher, I'm positive he will get that to staff and get you the answers you're looking for, more information. But great questions, great participation. Mr. Fletcher, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, sir. You know that.
All right. Well, you guys have a blessed day and we'll talk to you soon. And everybody be safe out there. Drive slow on your way home. We'll talk to you. Thank you so much. This is John Rawlings with Mr. Jerome Fletcher, City Manager of Northport, saying thanks and have a great night. Bye-bye now.